going on, guys? It's Cimoooooooo. Now today I wanted to bring to you a video discussing how to beat ABC. I just made a video as an introduction to ABC, so if you're not too familiar with the archetype or what the archetype can do or anything like that, it's definitely going to be making a competitive splash in the meta, so I'd highly recommend checking out my last video just to familiarize yourself so you know what to expect at your upcoming tournaments. But in this video, as a follow-up to that, I wanted to discuss some of the best options for defeating this deck, depending on what you're currently running in your deck and what you have room for. Some cards you might already be running already have some good synergy against the deck, and some cards might be good for your side deck, so it's really up to you. I just kind of wanted to give you a brief little rundown of what my personal favorites are for defeating ABC. Now, as you guys know, I like to categorize each of these little segments all together, so you kind of have little groupings for what you're trying to accomplish, or at least how you're trying to defeat the deck. So for this, we have 4 different categories. We have stopping them from banishing, we have stopping their spell cards, blanket removal, and then banishing their resources. So let's go ahead and start with stopping their ability to banish cards. Now, this is where a card like Artifact Lancea is pretty cool, because in this area, we're focusing on preventing their ability to summon ABC Dragon Buster. And if we have a card like Artifact Lancea, once your opponent goes through their whole typical combo, gets A, B, and C in the graveyard, you can just drop fucking Artifact Lancea, and then they're basically screwed, because then they can't summon their Dragon Buster. More often than not, their field might be a little bit exposed, and you can capitalize on that on your next turn. A card like Chaos Hunter is also really good in this instance as well. Very similar to Artifact Lancea in that it's a hand trap. Difference being is that you have to discard a card to summon it, and it has to be in response to your opponent's special summoning a monster. So there's very specific applications for when you have to use this card. But if you do, the payoff's really good, because Chaos Hunter has a very good stat line, and on top of that, it only prevents your opponent from banishing cards. You can still banish all you want, meaning that if you're in an ABC mirror match, then you can just do your whole thing with your Chaos Hunter out, and your opponent's going to be pretty locked out. Another card is Imperial Iron Wall in this instance. It is a floodgate, and if you're using a deck that doesn't care really about banishing, it's really good if you're going first and you just open that, because then they're not going to be able to do any of their really good plays to summon the Dragon Buster. I also want to include cards like Vanity's Emptiness and Vanity's Fiend in this area. Even though it's not preventing banishing, it is preventing special summoning, and the whole purpose of this area is to prevent the special summon of ABC Dragon Buster. So I figured I would just go ahead and group those in here as well, being is that anytime you can prevent special summoning in general, it's usually pretty fucking good. So next up, we have stopping their spell effects. Now, this is really big because Union Hanger, as we've discussed previously, is an insane card. The fact that it's a +2 on activation in most cases, and is consecutively a +1 every single turn after that, is fucking crazy. So if we can stop Union Hanger and Terraforming, and basically half of their deck, which is comprised of spells, that's really going to slow the deck down and limit their plays. So a card like Anti-Spell Fragrance is really good in this instance, because then it forces the ABC player to set the Union Hanger, giving you the opportunity on your turn to pop the Union Hanger and prevent them from using it in the first place. So there's that. There's also a card like Secret Village of the Spellcaster if you're playing a deck like Magispectors or Odd Eyes Magician, or anything with Spellcasters for the most part. Again, just locking them out of the ability to to use their spell cards is really strong. Another really good card in this instance is Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Now, Ghost Ogre is really strong because you can actually use it if they attempt to activate the effect of Union Hanger, and since field spells need to remain active to resolve, if you chain Ghost Ogre to it, it's going to get destroyed and resolve without effect. And also, Ghost Ogre duels against the ABC Dragon Buster as well, because if they attempt to activate the Dragon Buster's effect during their turn to banish one of your cards, you can chain Ghost Ogre, and then they actually cannot chain the Tribute effect, because the Tribute effect can only be used on the opponent's turn. So even though they'll still get to banish one of your cards, you'll be able to destroy the Dragon Buster no problem. So next up, we have Blanket Removal. Now, this is where cards like Dark Hole, Regeki, Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, these cards are minorly effective simply because if they have a Dragon Buster, and if you use something like Dark Hole or Regeki, they're often going to tag out of the Dragon Buster, summon their little guys, and then the card will resolve and wipe them all to the graveyard. So you dealt with the Dragon Buster, but the monsters are back in the graveyard so they can just summon another one next turn. So you didn't really deal with the problem. You kind of just slapped a band-aid on a hemorrhaging wound. So what you can do is you can use a card like System Down. System Down is incredible because for the cost of 1,000 life points, you get to banish all face-up machine-type monsters your opponent controls and in their graveyard. So not only will it deal with the problem of Dragon Buster if they attempt to tag out, it also hits everything in the graveyard, which is just huge and really sets them back because you're really hitting a lot of their resources. Last but not least, I want to discuss about removing their resources in general, since we did just mention System Down. So, this is where cards like Dark Law and Macrocosmos are obviously really strong because, you know, if they're not able to get anything in the graveyard, they're not going to be able to summon their ABC Dragon Buster. But not all decks can run Dark Law and Macrocosmos, obviously. So, a really good hand trap is DD Crow, as well as Ally of Justice Cycle Reader, which both banish resources in the graveyard. Ally of Justice Cycle Reader specifically is able to banish 2 light monsters, so that's really, really big, because if they have A, B, and C in grave, you could banish, you know, A and B, and they're really set behind, especially if it's in the early stages of the game. Plus, since they're hand traps, your opponent might not see them coming, and it's really something that's really difficult to play around because of the fact that they're hand traps. And then last but not least, my favorite card against this deck is Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, because if they go first and they attempt to do their whole opening combo, you can just Ghost Reaper the ABC Dragon Buster, and then they're basically fucked because they're not going to have any Dragon Busters left in their extra deck to go into, which severely hurts the deck. This is similar to, you know, hitting Dante in Burning Abyss. Sure, the deck can still function, but without its best card in the extra deck, they're going to have a really difficult time winning that game. So that's it for the video, guys. Let me know down in the comments what your guys' favorite outs are to ABC. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. And last but not least, if you really enjoy my content, I highly advise backing me on Patreon, because just by pledging at least $1 a month, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. So, thank you guys so much again for watching the video. We'll see you next time.